Reading in bed.
Right, Amanda, what are we doing now?
We're doing reading in bed.
Yeah, what episode?
59, part B.
Yeah, part B, yeah. Now, if you'd heard the one we did a couple of weeks ago, well, we finished recording half an hour ago, to be honest. You would have heard us lay into Dracula's Child. Well, luckily, it's the official sequel to Dracula. Well, we were watching space now. We're reading two books this time, one solo book each. So, obviously, Amanda's going to go first, but we do have more news, don't we, Amanda?
Yeah,
Do you want to tell people what we did? What our other news is?
we guested on a podcast which was released on Thursday last week.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that podcast. I know you enjoyed that, didn't you? And
Yeah,
do you want to tell people what the podcast was called, and I'll tell them what it was about?
well, somebody write this.
Yeah, and it's basically where us and two hosts of the program sat down, and we were given an improvised title. And this is the fun bit with this one. I remember as well because when I had to run out and go get some Amazon packages, Amanda, didn't I? Just so we were get going. So I came back, and I think you picked out the title we were going to do, didn't you?
Yeah, I'd said which one I like the sound of.
Yeah,
and you guessed straight away.
It involved zombies, didn't it? I'm right there, wasn't it? It was zombies, wasn't it? So
yeah, it's a zombie called Voldemort something or other. I've forgotten the name now.
Yeah, but we had a really good laugh at this podcast. It's worth hearing it because it's only half an hour long. It was great fun because we had to improvise a storyline off this. And it came out, we probably built the world more than told the stories, didn't we, after about half an hour on?
Yeah, it got pretty gruesome in parts, didn't it?
Yeah, it ended
a bit dark.
Understatement. Ended up being what base was it? We said it almost like film noir sort of thing, except we called it, was it zombie noir or something, didn't we?
Yeah.
About you, based about a zombie, about a detective coming back from the dead. And it was just really, really weird. So, but check it out anyway. I'm not going to say anything else, but it was great fun doing it. So, on to reading in bed. Okay, Amanda, tell us the title of your first book and who wrote it.
So my book is called The Night of Demons and Saints, and it's book 2 in the Sisters Grimm series by Menna van Praag.
Okay, give us the blurb then.
3 years ago, the sisters confronted their demon father in a strange otherworld called Everwhere. It was a battle that ended in a devastating loss, and the scars they carry seem to have slowly pushed the sisters apart. One sister, still raw with grief, is now a near recluse but determined to use her powers to resurrect what she has lost. Another has made the journey to learn more of her family, her culture, and her roots. And another seems to have turned her back on what she is and opted to lead a more normal life. But now the sisters are about to be brought together once more, because when the clock strikes midnight, when October ticks into November, when autumn wilts into winter, when All Hallows Eve becomes All Saints' Day, the sisters Grimm will turn 21 and reach the zenith of their powers. And on this night, at this time, in this place called Everwhere, anything is possible.
Ooh. Now, if people are clever, and obviously all the readers obviously are clever, but I remember you reviewing this book, the first one in this series, was it a couple of months ago, was it?
No, it was back in February 2020.
Oh my God,
I
that was
had
a while.
to go
It was
through
a
my
while ago.
Goodreads account to find out when I'd read it.
Oh wow, that was a while ago then. So, has it took then the author a while to follow this book up then as well? You've been sat on this one for a little while.
I think it's come out very recently.
Hmm.
Because I have been keeping a track of it every time I remember about it. And the last time I checked, just over a month ago, the new one was out. So I think it's come out within the last couple of months.
Right, so yeah, so like I think how do you feel about man when you're writing series by say an author like that? Should you be writing, say, the series out a lot quicker than what you are, or do you think it's a good idea doing it 2 years later?
I think it was quite a long book. I don't know. I listened to this one again on Audible. I think it was about 10 hours long. So I don't know what that translates to in pages, but it's probably quite long in the physical copy or Kindle copy.
Yeah. So it's all it's a fairly lengthy book again, isn't it? So right, well, obviously, we're going to have to look at the strengths and weaknesses then. So the obvious question is, how does it compare to the first book?
I have to say it's not quite as good, but I think it was it was nice to have a sequel just because you've read the first book and you want to see what's happened to the other characters. So even though I don't think the storylines were quite as strong, I enjoyed it just because I enjoyed the characters in the first book.
Yeah, the characters carried you across, really. I get you completely. That's fair play. So tell us, refresh our memories about the main characters in this book, then.
So there's Goldie, Scarlet, and I've forgotten the other one now. But there were originally four of them, and one of them died in the first book. But she still appears in it occasionally as well, because she's in a place called Everwhere.
Yeah, no, fair enough. No, fair play with you. So, well, that one's so cool. Now, what was the journey of the book like? Obviously, the first book, you could always argue, is setting the scene, aren't you? Really. So, was it the case in this book? Was it the same? Like the scene was set, was it?
Yeah, the characters have sort of been established, but they've changed a little bit and gone through certain things. So one of them lost the man that she loves, and another one's in a relationship was not with the right best person, and then another one's got problems with her aunt. So they've all
Hmm.
got like their own individual problems to deal with, and they're quite separate sort of to start with. And it's only like later on in the book when they sort of join together and start helping each other.
Yeah, yeah. No, I get you completely with it. So, yeah, it's one of those ones. Did it feel like it had a natural way it developed? Was it developed naturally, and did it feel like the characters from the first book?
Yeah, in some ways it was just based on everyday life because it's like about like loss and grief and heartbreak and stuff, which is all human stuff that everyone can relate to. But then on the other hand, they've all got like their own individual gifts and powers.
Yeah,
It
yeah. No, I
felt a
get
bit like a sort of younger version of Charmed in that way.
what the good
Like
charmed
they're
or the
just
charm.
like the original one, but maybe like a younger version of it, but without being naff like the remake.
Yeah, people are wondering. Obviously, like I said, this Amanda doesn't like the remake of Charmed, right? Do you, Amanda, very much?
I tried.
Well, the people say God loves a try. That's all I'm going to say, right? So, for that one. But yeah, again, I've never seen it, so I can't comment. Okay, I'm not sure I want to comment either. So, but that. So, but yeah, anyway. Okay, tell us a
Well,
bit more about.
it's definitely a book aimed at women, I think. I
Mm,
don't think men would enjoy it because it's more like about like the three young women that are left and their different lives and they just happen to have gifts rather than like the gifts being like the main thing of the story.
yeah, no, I get it completely with it. So, but that one says just like I said, it's a tricky one. But like I said, but obviously, when it's a sequel to a book, obviously it has to be. I'm used most of the time, aren't they? They're used to bringing in extra people into the book, aren't they? So tell us about then. I presume there was a lot, a fair bit of new characters coming in the book, wasn't there?
And not so much really.
All right, that's surprising.
It was more about like the journey of the three main characters, and then I'd met most of the characters before,
Yeah, oh, that's
and
fair
like
play.
they're like completely different at the start of the book to how they are at the end of the book. So they do go on a journey, which is like the main point of it, really.
Yeah,
It's
I
like
think
they
it.
get to the end of the book and they're still the same. It's like not much has changed, does it?
Yeah, yeah, and of course, no, I get you completely of it. It's just that it's. I think a book always has to change. It always has to be a development, doesn't it? So, no, I get you completely
Yeah.
with it. So, no, it's fair play. No, fair play with that straight away. I get you completely. So, okay, is there much else you need to bring up about the discussion of this book, Amanda?
I think the narrator did a good job of bringing the story to life.
Oh yeah,
And that was a woman called Olivia Forrest.
was it just the one narrator in this case? Was it?
Yeah,
Oh,
I
good.
think that's more challenging sometimes because with the Dracula's Child one that we reviewed in the last episode, there were more than one narrator, and I think nearly all the characters had someone different. So if you're the only narrator, you've got to voice all the characters and make them sound different.
Oh yeah, completely. No, I get it, completely. Yeah, that's. I think it's a real big challenge, isn't it, for a voice artist to do that. Strode. No, that's interesting. Really, really interesting. That love. I'm glad you clarified that one straight away for us. So interesting. Okay, now, is there anything else you need to bring up about this book then?
The other thing I didn't like is because the 20-year-old and are about to turn 20, it just felt a bit like teenage angsty in places.
Yeah, no, I get completely with it. So, no, I said that's where. Are you the right? I'm not going to give your age away here. Are you the right market for the book? Do you think, or is it you just been a big kid?
No, I'm too old. Too old and decrepit.
Well, if you're too old and decrepit, what the hell am I? Because I'm older than you, right? No, I'm just saying that. Did it? Is the book perhaps aimed more at the teenage market?
It quite possibly is, but it's really difficult. I mean, I know they're not witches, but they do have like gifts, and it's really difficult to find like a really good fantasy novel with like people who have got like magical gifts or witches. It's like a lot of the books I keep coming across, it's just like it's very sex based with like maybe a little plot thrown in between.
Yeah, no, I do want. Yeah, I get you completely. Love it. So you do wonder sometimes, don't you? So, no, of course, I get you completely of it. So it's one of those things. But yeah, no, I agree with you. So, okay, I presume you've got nothing else to discuss with this book, then, have you?
No, that's it.
Do you want to give us a mark then?
I'm gonna give it 9 out of 10.
Ooh, now that is, of course, reading a bed recommendation. Got to ask you then, when there's a third book, and I presume there will you be reading it?
I probably will because I've gone through 2 books now, so it's like by the time the third one comes out, you feel like compelled to read it then, don't you? Unless
Yeah,
you
no,
really hate it.
that's true. That's true completely of it. So, yeah, no, I agree with you completely loving that one. So, I said, let us see then, don't we? So, let's see when the book comes
Yes.
out. So, no, fair play. For you. Right, anyway, guys and girls, we're going to take a quick break here, so and come back with part 3 of, or 2 in this episode anyway. And do you want any hints, Amanda?
Yeah.
No, I haven't got any done. Just you have to,
Well,
you
that's
just got to.
disappointing.
I'm the typical man, aren't I? So I can't think of anything clever to say in this one. So we'll see you all in a few minutes, guys. See you in a minute.
Reading in bed.
Welcome back to Reading in Bed, episode 59, part B, with me, Amanda Nicholson, and
I am Andy M. My solo book this month is a sequel, another sequel. It's a sequel to episode this, Amanda, isn't it? We noticed.
yeah, unintentionally.
Yeah, he wasn't planned this because people are wondering, guys, when we do these, I do a split books. We obviously do talk about it, obviously, before we record, don't we, Amanda? But we never tell each
Yeah.
other, oh, we're reading it. So we try and keep it in suspense
Sometimes Andy tries to get me to read certain books, and I just tell him to get lost.
Yeah, I'm used to that by now. So, but anyway, right. My solo book of the month, and this one's a sequel as well. I read a book a couple months ago by Amy Liptrot called The Outrun, which was a quite harrowing book about because she was born in the Orkney Islands, moved to London, and fell into alcoholism, then went back to the Orkneys to try and rediscover herself. So this is the sequel book to that called The Instant. What do you want to know first of all, Amanda?
Do you want to read the blurb first?
Yeah. Wishing to leave the quiet isolation of her Orkney Island life, Amy Liptrot books a one-way flight to Berlin, searching for new experiences, inspiration, and love. She rents a loft bed in a shared flat and looks for work. She explores the streets, nightclubs, and parks, and seeks out the city's wildlife, goosehawks, raccoons, and hooded crows. She looks for love through the screen of her laptop. Over the course of a year, Amy makes space for something to happen, hoping for the unexpected. And it comes an erotic jolt in the form of a love affair that obsesses her. The Instant is a frank and luscious look at the addictive power of love and lust. It is also an exploration of the cycles of the moon, the flight paths of the migratory birds, the mesmerizing power of Neanderthal stonework, and the trails followed behind by a generation who exist online.
Yeah, that sounds pretty bleak.
Okay, and where do you want to start?
So obviously you enjoyed the first book, or you wouldn't have picked up the second book.
Yeah, the first book, it was one of the most powerful books I've read this year. I don't know if I'd call it my favourite book of the year, but it was certainly a really powerful book it was. And I knew about this book when I was reading the first one, and I thought, well, as with the first book, it wasn't a particularly long book. I think this was 180 pages, you know what I mean? It's quite
Yeah.
a brief book, really, so that's why, oh yeah, I did enjoy this. It wasn't a pretty read, that's for sure with it anyway, so
So did this feel like a strong sequel to the first book?
it was a bit like what you said with yours before. I don't think this was as good as the first book
No.
because both the first one you felt she'd read healed herself, and
Yeah.
this one it was a friend of ours, and I'm not going to name, is an ex-alcoholic, and you know who I'm on about here, don't
Oh
you, as
yeah,
well?
yeah.
Like he's always told us basically the urge never goes away, and this what happened to this lady here is I think she'd gone back to the Orkneys to heal herself, and then decided she wasn't happy, had been stuck in the Orkneys again, and wanted to try and live somewhere else. And I think she moved over to Berlin and basically ran into a lot of the same problems. Like you think really, like you always say, don't you, when you're looking at the next step of recovery isn't always sweetness and light. And
No.
for every step forwards, there was a chance you could fall backwards. Do you get what I mean with that? It's like it was and this relationship she went into the book, it was a case of falling backwards because she got obsessed with him. And
Right,
it made
okay.
it was pretty uncomfortable reading in places, honestly. And I think that's the point behind it.
So was there any more good points? If that's a good point, I don't know. I
It
suppose
was
that's
an
what the intention is, isn't it? So that's a
yeah,
good point.
the
Yeah.
intention is, yeah. Well, I've got to say, I've got to be honest. My knowledge of Berlin, which a good chunk of the book's in, is a lot less than London. But I was covered the first book. Although I have been there once, so I find it quite hard to compare to personal experience like London. And I think the book is as vivid as the Outrun, with the sections about the butterflies, but there was a number of scenes with sex scenes in it that were a bit too close to the knuckle in places.
Yeah.
Particularly that's why. But yeah, it was an interesting book. It was because it showed what happened next really with her life, and like it showed like she healed herself, but she was still incredibly damaged by the onrush of alcoholism. And I think it's good book to read this if you want to be really challenged by something like that, but it's not an easy read, and it's on 180 bloody pages as well.
Do you think people who have gone through similar things would benefit from reading it, or do you think it made things worse for them?
No, I think it's definitely a help book. Definitely is in that one. There's no
Yeah.
two ways about it because and it's most definitely is a help book, and it's. I think she's wrote it basically just to show people it basically. That's why. And interestingly enough, actually, I don't know if you're aware of this, but on the outrun that we saw, I talked about you what bit back. There's actually the new book has come out this year. Obviously, there was a 6 year gap between the writing of the two books. There's actually a film version and actually been filmed at in the Orkneys on the first book on the outrun. And I believe that's out next year. So that's going to be quite an interesting book to read, basically, a film to see, basically. You know what I mean? To see what power they can do with it, because the book is very singular in its vision through her eyes, and you don't get a chance to see a lot of other characters. She doesn't
Yeah.
even name most of the characters, like the guy she falls in love with. She doesn't name him.
That's interesting. I don't know how you would like put that into the book and still have people know who you're talking about.
Yeah, and she did. There was a way around it. You have to read the book yourself to find out. But
Yeah.
she did it a real massive singular version of a vision, and you're doing that. You're trying to do as a film version of that. Because films obviously you see a much brighter, full color picture. It's going to be a fascinating film to see. In the book, it's very singular in its vision, like the first book was, and you can see Isabella Labour love for her because she's not lying in it. She's been honest. She's been very, very critical of the way she was as a person. So
Yeah.
it's a really, really fascinating book. I really enjoyed this actually. I've got to say, well, it wasn't an easy read.
No. So is there anything less than positive you want to say about it?
Yeah, if I'm honest, like with the first book, it is a bit of a tricky one. This because it was like it had been such a short book. It was a really hard one because I like the fact that the book didn't hang around But some ways you could have done with a little bit more information sometimes. I think it might have been a little bit too short in places. You know what I mean? It's a real bit of grey area, really, because if she's put another 100 pages on it, it might have been padding. But then you're left thinking it's 180 pages too short.
Yeah.
What's your opinion, Mandy? Have you been writing novels before? Or novellas like that? You explain to people the difference when you're trying to get the headset of writing a novella and a novel.
I think sometimes I've set out to write a novel and it's just been a novella. It's always been on the short side. And then I come across people that have said, oh, I've got a book that's 180,000 words. And I just thought, I can't go on with one book that long.
No, I couldn't do it either. So, but I said, on the Liptrot book, it's a really good book, this actually. And I did enjoy it. I don't think I enjoyed it quite as much as the first book, but I think the mark's very similar anyway. So, but it's worth reading because it's like I said, 180 pages. You can read it fairly quickly and digest it, I think.
Okay, so is there anything else you want to say before you give it a mark?
No, not at all. What do you reckon I'm going to give this out of 10, Amanda?
I think it's going to be at least an 8.
It's an 8, actually. So I did enjoy it. Generally did enjoy this book. So, and that's all, guys. Yes, that's all, folks. That's all, folks. So, right, I don't have a clue what book I'm reading next month yet. Amanda's on the Stephen King, aren't you? This is his new book, isn't it? That came out a couple months ago, is it?
Yeah, Fairy Tale.
Yeah, we saw this. Oh, yikes. We got this book came just after we came back from Blackpool in September, didn't you? So you've been clearing up your schedules to start it in November, so which you're going to be reading.
I've been weightlifting as well, preparing my arms for holding it for long periods of time because it's very heavy.
Oh, is it one of his epic books again, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, good grief. Poor you. Anyway, well, I have no idea what I'm reading next month yet. I'll hold my hands up. I might read that erotic diaries book I told you about before, but there's another book I want to read as well, so I might do 2 books next month yet, and let Amanda do 1 because it'd be nice to get these 2 reviews done, these 2 books, for the last episode. But anyway, see you next month. We'll make our minds up then. Watch out. We will advise in due course, Amanda, won't we?
Yeah.
Right. Well, see you all next time.
Bye, everyone.
See you later, guys. Bye.
Reading in bed. Reading in bed.